Good morning and welcome to School's Not Out, your daily classroom for CSEC and CAPE students. You can watch this lesson real time on Television Jamaica's YouTube channel or One Spot Media. We also are live on Music 99 and GoJamaica.com. If you have questions on today's subject, you can send them into Television Jamaica's Facebook page or Instagram at television_Jamaica. Today's lesson is on Caribbean Studies. We'll be focusing on the mass media. I am Melissa Beckford Simpson, your teacher for today. So today we will be focusing on the mass media, very, very controversial kind of topic, but also very, very interesting. And it falls right within what we are doing now. Let's communicate our objectives. First, we want to define the terms media, mass media. Then we want to differentiate between the various concepts that are related to the use of the mass media in the Caribbean. We want to assess the roles and functions of the mass media in the context of Caribbean development. And then we want to examine the idea of a free press in the Caribbean. Do we have any such thing? So let's get on with it. All right, so what is the mass media? Let's talk about that now. The term refers to several different ways of communicating information to large audiences. That's what the mass media is. So it's talking about different kinds of ways encompassing. All right, this term media was originally applied to print media mainly at the beginning in terms of the Caribbean, and then of course we branched out into other kinds of media. Electronic, now we say digital media, computerized images and text, electronic media or broadcast media, which refers to radio and television, and then sometimes the incorporation of the same ICTs with radio and television, the use of the internet and the World Wide Web. And of course, we have our newest member of the media grouping, the social media. All right? So all of those are concepts that relate to the mass media. Now, let us talk a little bit about media development in the Caribbean. We came out of a situation in the 1930s and even probably a little bit earlier than that in the Caribbean with print media. And we would have explored some of these things in the last class where we talked about the 1930s protests and intellectual traditions and ideologies that came out of that era. And so you had the trade union movement coming out of that era, black consciousness groupings that we talked about last week, Black Panther, Garveyism, Rastafari, and so on. Struggle for political rights that eventually led to independence. So this is where media is coming from in the Caribbean. Print mainly, as was said. And so people found ways to give a voice to the issues that they were facing, the social, economic, and political issues that they were facing in the Caribbean. And that is the era in which our media developed. Okay, so of course we had early newspapers in the Caribbean, even earlier than the 1930s, because the Gleaner, for example, was established 1834. That is even before full emancipation was granted across the British West Indies. And there we have it, the Gleaner. We have other kinds of newspapers too throughout the Caribbean. The Chronicle, the Herald, the Voice, the Nation in other Caribbean countries, Barbados, and so on. So we've had a rich history of the print media and its role in the Caribbean. Some people may say that the print media doesn't have so much of a role now, it's outdated and we don't need it anymore. But do we? All right? And then of course we have these protests taking place, and you'd find that earlier copies of newspapers would really be portraying a lot of the 1930s riots across the various Caribbean countries, beginning in St. Kitts and then going on to Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, and so on. So this is what we would see for the earlier versions of print media in the Caribbean. Now let us move on to looking at the roles and functions of the media. No, we can get a little bit controversial here. Let's begin with the first one. First one is information, to provide information to people. People can know what is happening within their country, within the area that they live in, know how to operate and behave and that kind of thing. So of course, we now live in a context where the media is ever so important, because a lot of us, we have been quarantined, we have been locked in, like the parish of St. Catherine. So people have been relying on all forms of media to give them some kind of information as to how they ought to act or behave, or even the numbers. The press conferences on a Monday or a Friday give information. What is happening? What are the numbers now? What does the curve look like, or are we at the curve, or are we just going up steeply? You know, all of these things. All right, and so it provides all kinds of information for us there. All right, and then we have the news. Now, a lot of you students, I know that you don't watch the news, because when we speak in class and so on, so many of your teachers are saying you're so out of touch with what is happening in the real world. Right? But now we find that even those who do not normally watch the news are watching the news, because everybody wants to know what is happening. How close to me is this corona? What do I need to do? You know? So it's important now that we watch the news and we get the relevant information. Another source of just plain information would be documentaries. Now, I found it very interesting last night. I was watching the documentary on the cockpit country, and you know, just giving information about the boundaries of the cockpit country and all of that melee that's going on with bauxite mining in the cockpit country and so on. And I found it to be very, very, very useful information. So documentaries also provide information. So just giving people knowledge, letting them know what is happening. So that's the basic function of the media. All right, so let's go into something a little bit more, you know, controversial. Behavior change or socialization. That's another function of the media, behavior change. So the media serves as an agent of socialization. It's not just there to give information. So we would recall from module 1, where we spoke about the home or the family as the first agent of socialization. And then we would speak about school, you know, religious institutions. The media plays a very, very important role in socialization. In fact, it always has. But right now we know it's different kinds of media that play that role. So it also helps to socialize new members, but also helps to re-socialize existing members in terms of change in behavior. Because sometimes there are negative behaviors or undesirable behaviors that need to change. And so the media is used to portray this kind of change in behavior. I should point out here that the media has been used for both good and bad, because we've had many regimes that have not been good, but they have used the media as a form of propaganda in order to do the same behavior change. We can look, for example, at Hitler and the system of Nazism in Germany. The media was very, very important in changing people's behavior and in conditioning people to a certain kind of way of acting and thinking too, believe it or not. All right, so when we talk about behavior change, what are we talking about? What are some good examples of this? So we have the Jamaica Moves campaign, and I don't know if anybody is remembering that in light of COVID-19 now and everything, but I remember it very, 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 very clearly. I don't know if you do, and there's a very catchy jingle song to it and everything. You don't remember it? Let me refresh your memory. It says, love your body, treat your body right. Love your body, treat your body right. Just do it right. Love your body, treat your body right. Love your body, treat your body right. Yes, That is one of them. And so there was this big campaign that was launched mainly last year to get people to exercise, to eat properly, to rest, and to, all of those things by the health ministry. And so that is behavior change, because we were moving towards a kind of society where there were more people with certain kinds of diseases, lifestyle diseases, the diabetes and the hypertension and those things. So people needed to love them body and treat them body right. And so the media took center stage where that was concerned. All right, and then we have another example. Anybody remembers the mosquito eradication, dengue fever kind of situation? We probably are not remembering a lot of these things now because we are in the middle of COVID-19. But I remember it very, very well. And I remember one of the songs too that says, if you now want pop down and fenke, you feel burn mosquito around it. You don't remember that one? Yes, I remember that one. And that was very catchy. All the children knew it and, were dancing and everything. We also have other kinds of campaigns like HIV/AIDS campaigns, and so on. And we have another popular one going on still, being displayed in the media. All right, how about COVID-19 advertisements? We're not short on those. And we have those everywhere. Not just in the print, we have it in the print media, in the broadcast media, social media, all around. We have all of this information about, and sometimes it is also misinformation too. We are bombarded with so much information. And so we hear how to wash our hands. And I tell you, if I wash my hand one more time, and I'm wondering if people now are forgetting to bathe, because all we seem to do is wash our hands, and everybody knows how to wash their hands properly. And wearing a mask, how to wear a mask, how to make a mask, and every time you turn on any of the social media platforms, you see somebody else instructing you how to do something related to COVID-19. So there's a lot of information out there, and this information is good. However, if people do not know how to decipher between what is good and what is not, then people will end up doing wrong things as well. And we misuse the media sometimes. We have many cases of this happening since we've been under quarantine and lockdown and so on. And we'll go back to behavior change. We Jamaicans tend to be very unruly and, me do what I want to do and go where I want to go and nobody can speak to me. And of course, we know what happened with that when this young man posted a video like that. And we are bold enough to post these things, right? So what we want is, and then we had another video that was posted with the young man apologizing and doing the right thing and going in when the time came for him to go in. So you have behavior change taking place there. And you just need to walk around to notice behavior change happening. People are wearing their masks. People are sanitizing, washing hands. You have to do that before you enter different communities and so on. So behavior change is indeed taking place through the use of the mass media. All right, so let's move on to another critical role and function of the media now. The construction of cultural, and that could be national, regional, or even diasporic identity. What do we mean by this? We only have to look at times like in October when it's Heroes Weekend and, Heroes celebrations, and we see the celebrations in the schools and so on. Emancipendence in August, when we have all of those national cultural events coming together, right? So we have the Festival Queen competition, and we have Mellow-Go-Round, and we have all kinds of things, floats, celebration at National Stadium, and so on. All of that helps to create a sense of national identity, making people feel, oh, I'm Jamaican, and everybody puts on their black, green, and gold, and, we're out and about, and we love to be very Jamaican at those times. Yes. Other events too that help to promote, through the use of the media, this kind of national identity would be sports. when the Olympics going on. I don't sleep at all. I am up and I'm watching everything, and then you have people travel from wherever they are living in Jamaica coming to Halfway Tree to stand with their pot cover and to put on their black, green and gold and to say, yes, we are Jamaicans, you know? Yes. Football does the same thing too, and cricket used to do that. But it doesn't, you know, garner that same kind of support anymore, but it used to. And cricket plays a very important role, in fact, in not just Jamaica, but across the Caribbean, because the West Indies cricket team is comprised of members from various Caribbean countries. So all of us, it helps to promote a sense of regional identity in the Caribbean. Two lessons ago, we spoke about regional integration and why we need regional integration, and our attempts as Caribbean people to feel a sense of oneness and Caribbeanness. So these kinds of things, sports is used to promote it. And then we have other things like national disasters, and it is a very sad time to be coming together, but we do come together when we have national disasters or regional disasters, such as was the case last year with the destruction of so many of the smaller islands by a hurricane. So we have these moments when the media really chips in to function as this glue that holds the region together, that bring people together. And it is so much more important in some Caribbean countries like Belize that's huge and mountainous, and people live in these different areas. So people need to have this sense of national identity, and we use the media to do that. Because people are so remote, living in their different areas, they may not be in touch with what is going on. The media helps to keep people in touch, helps to bring the country together, helps to bring the region together. So this sense of national identity and so on, very, very, very important in the Caribbean. Now, a very, very important role of the media. The media is considered to be the watchdog of democracy. What do we mean by that? Largely, the Caribbean countries are considered to be democratic countries, for the most part. But our sense of democracy is, we have to look at it with respect to how much the media is able to play a role. All right? So we look at things like, so we say the media is tasked with ensuring that governments are kept in check, protecting the rights and freedoms of citizens. If we had nobody keeping the governments in check, then we know what could happen. People's rights and freedoms could be trampled on severely. So we look at a case in point here. The Access to Information Act was to be amended in the Parliament to give a longer period of time for access to certain parliamentary documents. And then it came to the attention of the media, and a whole hullabaloo resulted from that. And what happened was that the parliamentarians are now back at the drawing board. Because if we were to allow that to happen, then that means that any number of things could slip by in the Parliament. We would not know about it. And it is another generation before we are actually having knowledge of these things that are happening. So it's very important that the media keeps the government in check. Now, the extent to which the government keeps the media in check looks at a number of things. It looks at one, who owns the media, and we'll go into a little bit more detail of that as we go down further. Who owns the media? How does the media function? And that kind of thing determines the extent to which the media help is able to be a watchdog of democracy. And there are many examples that we can actually cite that have happened in Jamaican society and across the Caribbean as well that questions the extent to which the media is able to act as what it is, the watchdog of democracy. All right, let's zero in a little bit now on something that I know you students want to talk about. Social media. All right, so for many of you, there's no media unless it's social media, because mainstream media is not something that you really pay attention to, right? But social media versus mainstream media. Should we have a versus when we're talking about these different kinds of media? Should we have a versus? And I ask you the question at home. Think about it, talk about it. Has social media overtaken mainstream media in providing relevant information and entertainment? Has it? And if so, has mainstream media outlived its usefulness? I know that you may be inclined to say yes on both accounts, because we have social media at our fingertips, literally, and this is where we're getting a lot of the information from now that we're in quarantine and at home and so on. We find it very entertaining to use social media, right? So has mainstream media been outdone by social media? Has social media taken over everything? Do we need mainstream media anymore? What about those investigative kinds of journalism that is important? Can social media provide that kind of journalism? Or is it just a means to air what we really need to do? It's something to think about. But I don't believe that social media has overtaken mainstream media. I really believe that we are living in a kind of context where both of them are very, very important. All right. Now, what is the purpose of the media in the context of Caribbean development? Let's look at that just a little bit. And I will just bring to your remembrance something that I brought here before. It says, ensuring citizens have continued access to freedom is important for development. These freedoms include personal security, rule of law, freedom of expression, within which the media falls, political participation, and equal opportunity. Therefore, to ensure development, the 4 pillars of the HDI must be achieved. So let's recall the 4 pillars now. We have equity, productivity, empowerment, and sustainability. For what we are doing today, we want to focus on both equity and empowerment. Now, remember, when we looked at development, we said that in order for a country in the Caribbean to say that we are developing or developed, we need to be looking at all the different areas of development. So the human development aspect is very important. What is equity? Simply means that all people, or most people, regardless of age, location, sex, whatever the variables are, they have access. And then empowerment, what is that now? People feel a sense of belonging, feel a sense of, I am a part of this, right? And I have something to contribute and I am important, right? And that is exactly what the media does for Caribbean countries that are trying to develop. It provides a sense of equity. So whether you live at Chuku or Bush, or, in Jamaica, we have a popular saying, I don't know how many of you know it, what we would say, Baka God. It doesn't matter where you live. You can access information because the media is able to reach you, right? So it puts everybody on a level playing field. And it also makes you feel, for example, when you have feedback questions in the evenings with the news, makes you feel as if you're a part of the process. Have you ever given your feedback and you have it read on the TV? It's nice, it's empowering. You feel as if you actually have a say in the running of your own country. All right? So it's very important that we set that. Now, it says here that there are a number of non-traditional indicators, which includes good governance and use of technology. And the state of freedom of the press is also very important in determining the extent to which a country can say that they are developed. All right. So what gives the media its legitimacy? Right? We can go as far back as the Enlightenment in the 1700s. And one Voltaire, an Enlightenment thinker, who was the champion of all freedoms, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and all of these things, freedom of association, and so on. And then we have the UN Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We have our local constitutions in the various Caribbean countries. And then we have other laws, legal framework, such as the Access to Information Act that we spoke about earlier of 2002. All right, so what is freedom of the press? Now, for those who are listening on radio, I know you are not able to see this diagram, but it's very, very important. Now, this is a kind of understanding of what freedom of the press looks like for the countries of the world. All right, so the darker the color is the less that there is freedom of the press. And can I tell you that according to this diagram, which is actually a 2020 diagram, the Caribbean is black. Black. And other countries such as North America and so on, they are paler, yellow, right? And then you have the Middle East that's also black, and other African countries that are also black. So what this tells us is that we do not have a good rating overall across the Caribbean in terms of freedom of the press, right? But we celebrate, along with the rest of the world, World Press Freedom Day. I should hasten to say that Jamaica's rankings for press freedom actually went up last week on the 3rd of May when the celebration of World Press Freedom Day was done. With the concept of a free press, let's look at that very, very quickly. What does it mean to say that we have a free press? We're talking about who owns the press. Is it the government? Is it big businesses? Who owns the press? These are the things we talk about. We're talking about the extent to which politics and politicians are able to dictate what is broadcasted and printed. We're talking about what restrictions are placed on what can be made public, right? And we're also talking about existing laws, the legal framework again that says what is allowed and what is disallowed in terms of even the practitioners of the press. All right, so harassment of the press, or what we call censorship, it could be also censorship. Here's an example. We do not have a good history of freedom of the press in the Caribbean in general. We do not. We have had many instances where the press has been bombarded by governments and by individuals and big businesses. So as recently as 2001, almost all of the media in Antigua was owned by the Bird family, politicians. And their first independent station came out in 2001, the same year. And immediately as they began to broadcast, there were restrictions placed on them. And they were even sued for airing information that the government felt was attacking them. All right? Now, almost all Caribbean countries have had to be questioned since independence in terms of commitment to a free press. We've had Barbados with their situations, 1996, 97, 98, where the governments, the leaders of the political parties, have had the press under duress, not allowing them to practice and to air information as they should. No country can claim true democracy without allowing scrutiny of its political systems and functions. Let me say that again. No country can claim true democracy without allowing scrutiny of its political systems and functions. What then is the status of the Caribbean? In light of all of this, what then is our status? Can we truly say that we have a free press? Or are we restricted? Are we censored in terms of what we can broadcast, print, and what we can't broadcast or print? Are media practitioners feeling free to operate and to air the information as it is? All right, we will discuss a little bit more of this when we come back, but we will also go into our multiple choice challenge and look at an aspect of the SBA that is particularly challenging. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in, and I'll do my best to talk about them or to answer them after the break. Stay with us. School's Not Out. We'll be right back.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, along with TVJ, present Schools Not Out, CSEC and CAPE lessons live Mondays to Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, with weekly Schools Not Out tutorial sessions on Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Schools Not Out, live CSEC and CAPE lessons here on TVJ.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, along with TVJ, present Schools Not Out, CSEC and CAPE lessons live Mondays to Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, with weekly Schools Not Out tutorial sessions on Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Schools Not Out, live CSEC and CAPE lessons here on TVJ.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Reduce your risk of viral illnesses like the flu and coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing with a tissue and dispose of it. Avoid close contact with anyone with a cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or the nearest health center and share your travel history. The flu and coronavirus can kill. Let's protect each other. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information.
And Miss World 20.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, along with TVJ, present Schools Not Out, CSEC and CAPE lessons live Mondays to Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, with weekly Schools Not Out tutorial sessions on Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Schools Not Out, live CSEC and CAPE lessons here on TVJ.
COVID-19 tip. Protect yourself and others from getting sick by washing your hands after coughing or sneezing, when caring for the sick, before, during, and after you prepare food, before eating, after toilet use, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste.
Goal in terms of constructing national identity. So our own Tonian Singh won the Miss World title, and we were so proud. It brought Jamaicans together from all over, not just within Jamaica, but all over the diaspora. And we felt a moment of national identity. And can I tell you that there was also a moment of regional identity coming out of that one too, because the other Caribbean countries also were very, very happy for Jamaica and identified with what took place there. Now, this moment seems to have been very much overshadowed by COVID-19, yes, but we still remember. We need to go back to some of these things and remember. All right, so there we have it, the media fulfilling its role and function. Okay, so we go now, we use these last few moments to pick the brain. Yes, remember my famous brain and our light bulbs going off. We have to do a little bit of that, you know. We don't want it to seize up. All right? So for today, I just want to do a reminder, first of all, of an aspect of the SBA that seems to be continuously challenging for our students. I know some of you are still there trying to finish off these SBAs, and you are having a little bit of difficulty writing the discussion of findings. And in fact, you should be concerned because the discussion of findings is worth all of 12 marks and very, very important for this SBA at this time. All right, so in the discussion of findings, candidates are asked to present a qualitative kind of discussion here. So you would have done a more quantitative kind of look in your analysis. But for this section, you are expected to present more of a qualitative kind of approach, right? This means that you are to look at the data overall, the entire thing, and extract from it 4 main things that the data is telling you. 4 main things, right? You don't have to restrict it to that, but 4 is a good idea, and then you expand from there. These ideas should be properly ventilated in terms of possible impact and implications, right? And then you are also to use this same discussion of findings to bring in those sources you would have used in your literature review. So that's one of the main things that sets the discussion of findings apart from the analysis of data. All right, so let's look at our example one more time. The research has shown that the main challenge facing girls' schools is a lack of funding, and this is coming from a problem statement that looks at the challenges faced by girls' schools as opposed to boys' schools in terms of funding of sporting events. All right, so let me go again. The research has shown that the main challenge facing girls' schools is a lack of funding. Boys' schools traditionally have vibrant alumni associations that supplement the income of the school and its ability to successfully implement extracurricular activities, especially sports. So you have, in the first sentence, what you have done is that you have outlined what the finding is. And then the other sentence goes on to give a little bit more of an explanation of what you are trying to say. And then we continue. Girls' schools are sometimes at a disadvantage as it relates to this aspect. More explanation. Then now we go into the sources that you would have used in your literature review. All right? And we say, Price 2009 agrees with this finding, noting the extensive capital that old boys invest in their alma mater. And then another source. Brown 2011, however, notes that there is one other factor that is more important than the funding itself. He contends that the conditioning of a mindset that believes that girls should be doing certain subjects and activities rather than others plays a part here. And we continue. The implications of this is that eventually sporting programs for girls will continue to be of an inferior quality compared to the boys, denying female athletes an equal chance at maximizing potential. So there you have it. A good example of what just an expression of just one finding alone out from your discussion of findings should sound like. And then you continue with the other 3, and you should be doing the very same thing, looking at the literature. Did it agree? Did it disagree? In what ways they agree or disagree? What are the implications of this particular finding that you have? All right, so let's move on quickly now. You know I will not leave here until I give you your MCQ challenge. All right, let us remind ourselves what we are to do in mastering the multiple choice. First, we use the acronym READ. R, read the question at least twice before attempting to answer. E, examine all the possible responses and eliminate. A, attend to key terms. And D, determine the best answer based on the responses that are given. All right, let's look at this question now. The mass media in the Caribbean is seen as promoting cultural imperialism because of 1, its focus on American talk shows and celebrity interviews. 2, its relay of the 24-hour European and American cycle. And 3, the emphasis placed on showcasing Caribbean indigenous cultural practices. So out of that, and then you have A says 1 only, B says 1 and 2 only, C says 1 and 3 only, and D says 1, 2, and 3. Now let's eliminate. Look at 3, the emphasis placed on showcasing Caribbean indigenous cultural practices. That is not necessarily a part of what we want as the answer here. So we are left with 1 and 2. So of course the answer to this question would be B. Now you don't necessarily get a lot of questions on the multiple choice regarding the mass media, but they are still there. The mass media can promote Caribbean integration by, and the answer here is D, promoting sports heroes in the Caribbean. All right, so there we have it. The mass media and its importance, its roles and functions, and the idea of a free press as against censorship in the Caribbean. That is what we have looked at today. And as usual, we hope that you would have gained something, you would have grasped something that will now help you. You now need to go and do your additional reading in order to answer multiple choice questions clearly. You can catch a repeat of today's lesson on JNN today at 4 p.m. and in the Schools Not Out highlights on Saturday between 1 and 4 p.m. right here on TVJ. It also will be on video on demand on One Spot Media. Until next time, I am Melissa Beckford Simpson saying pleasant viewing, stay in, stay safe, wash your hands. And a wonderful, happy Teachers' Day to all teachers tomorrow. God bless.